People who work for the super wealthy, what stuff have you seen? Worked as one of 4 full-time groundskeepers at a large estate. 46 acres of lawn to mow twice a week. 2 clay tennis courts, 3 pools, 1 for the main house and 1 for each of the 2 guest houses. 100-acre private lake with boathouse. No clue how big the whole estate was, including the woods. Personal favorite was the 3-mile personal racetrack. But what really blew my mind was that he hosted his niece's wedding one summer, paid $350 to have this massive willow tree trucked in and planted by the lake for wedding photo, only to pay another $50 to have it removed and the landscaping returned to its original state after the wedding because he did not like the look of it. I've always wondered, can you actually move and re-soil massive mature trees? Like if you see a gorgeous massive tree on a hill somewhere and you're thinking, man, I wish I'd have this tree in my backyard. Does it mean you can actually do it? Take it out with roots and all and replant it somewhere else? Jeweler here. Some random client quotes. Client, so I have some gemstones that have just been collecting dust. Pulls out about a dozen amethyst, citrine, smoky quartz, most an inch or more across.
What can we do with these?
Can you make a crown?
No, not a little flimsy.
Fake one, a real one. Me. Makes a 5 silver and gold crown. New client. You're going to see me a lot. This is going to be my new addiction. Me. Okay, I'll bite. What was your last addiction? New client. Collecting fully grown trees. I had 45 transported and replanted on my property last year. Client. Have you seen my new car? Me. I have not. Client. They only made a few. Points out the window at a new navy blue Bentley. I didn't like the interior, so I had them replace it all with bright orange leather. They added a plate inside with my name engraved on it. Isn't it cool? 55-year-old client. I want everything pink. Can you tell I'm obsessed with Barbie? Laughs. We're even building a pink house. I want my engagement ring to be all pink. Me. I can make it in rose gold. Client. Great. Do you have any pink diamonds? Me. Not in stock, but I know of a supplier who has one. Client. I'll take it. Me. It's a natural argyle pink. It would be about $220,000. Client. How soon could you have it ready? Can you add more pink diamonds to the sides? I used to work at a jeweler's that sold argyles amongst other precious things. We had one big money customer who never wore anything more than Hawaiian shirts and shorts. Think on Holiday Adam Sandler, who would come in and tell us I'm feeling like a color diamond today. And we'd show him the collection we had at the time of those colors. He had dozens just sitting in our vault. Loved collecting them, but he never took one home. Sometimes he'd book a visit, and we'd get them out of the vault for him to look at over a glass of whatever drink he felt like. The cheapest I saw him buy in my time, there was $130. I often do work for the wives of wealthy professionals. The thing that has always stood out to me is that if I tell them that something they want isn't doable, they respond with literal confusion. It isn't anger. It's confusion. They are so unaccustomed to not being given exactly what they want that it's as if they don't understand what is happening when they are told they can't have something. You don't say that's impossible. What you do is you give them an extremely outrageous price, and they will pay it. I used to work at a members-only golf country club. There were members who had been actors, athletes, race car drivers, former CEO of Google, some major money and egos going on. There was one family that had 3 teenage kids, 2 girls and a boy. The mom and the girls were very attractive and knew it. They always looked amazing and had overly entitled attitudes to match. They were fancy. Well, the lady who washed the linens for the county club also did house cleaning for some members. This family was one of them. She said their multi-million-dollar home was a disaster filth zone. They basically did no housework in between having the cleaning lady there. Dishes piled with dried food that smelled, dirty clothes thrown everywhere, piles of crap all over, sticky floors, dog poop left on the floor. But the nastiest part was the bathroom. She said they wouldn't empty their bathroom trashes, and the ladies of the house would throw their used tampons on top of overflowing trash, so she had to pick up their used women's products, thrown on the floor, not even wrapped in paper. So these fancy bitches would walk around the club like they were so superior and look down on everyone, then would go home and act like wild apes, throwing their trash and period products on the ground. The thought of being so out of touch that you decide it is beneath you to even be sanitary, BC, you can just pay someone to do that for you, is just beyond insanity. If you're that rich and you're paying people to come clean for you, why not pay them to come every day? Seriously, wealthy people often literally have live-in staff. These guys are either mentally ill or not as rich as they pretend to be. The CEO of the company I worked for was the founder's son, not an unintelligent guy for the most part. His dad made him start with the most basic jobs in the company and work his way through the different departments. Managerial staff was ordered, upon penalty of termination, not to treat him any differently than a new hire. So when he became CEO, he wasn't a bad guy to with for. Now, this is a company of over 10,000. One night I'm working overtime on the late shift and we get this call. "Hey, you guys got electrician?" The guy is clearly drunk. We have no idea who it is or why he's calling our maintenance engineering group. We ask who he is, and he informs us lightheartedly. He wants someone to take a ride to his house and figure out why the internet isn't working. This is an hour drive away. I volunteer. I was bored off my nut anyway. I get to the house. Entry gate is smashed. Section of the white horse fencing is gone. Jaguar is stuck in the field. Here in the house is Jude, completely blasted. He's got a huge cut on his hairline. "Are you okay, boss?" "I'm fine." "Why?" he asks, blood literally caked on his face. I accompany him to the bathroom and help him clean himself up, wash off the gash and put some bandaging on it. Then I corrected the internet. Unplug plug. As I'm walking out, he asks me to do a shot with him. I comment, worried about my job, that it might be a bad idea. He agrees and hands me the bottle. Take it home and do a shot later. Keep it. When I get back to work, I look the stuff up. Never heard of it. It's a $1,500 bottle of scotch. The next day I'm at work early. About 11 in the morning, he comes walking up. We're not going to be talking about last night. I tell him it's all good, wassum. A little bit later, I get an envelope. There's a check attached to emergency tech support, $5,000. I was getting ready to hate this founder's sonso, but I kinda can't give him this story. Not his fault he was born into money. Sounds like he was raised right. Emo that makes him miles better than some of the richest I have met. Emo that makes him miles better than some of the richest I have met. Psst. Yikes. Yikes, looks like some of y'all got triggered. I'll just say, yay, drunk driving is very bad and selfish thing to do. I totally had missed that bit while reading. The founder was smart with those orders to the company to treat him like new hire and make him go through the corporate ladder so he knows how things actually work. Kind of a similar story, but my dad used to work for Getty Oil. J. Paul Getty IEIE was made to do the same thing as far as working the little man's jobs. To get a feel on how things really ran, Pops would tell us stories of how J. Paul would roll up to the oil rigs 2-3 hours late in a limo, drunk and blown out of his mind. He wouldn't do anything while at work, just watch, and at the end of the day the limo would show back up with half-naked women in the car to take him out to party the night away. This was after he was kidnapped, and my dad said his missing ear was always crazy to look at. Had a client come into our 3D printing office. His attention was immediately caught by a large industrial 3D printer in our showroom. Pulled out a credit card and bought a $250 machine on the spot. Best part was when we installed the machine at his facility. First thing he wanted to print was a meter-tall penis. Few weeks after the install, we got a photo of him standing next to the meter penis. Money well spent. First thing I printed with my ender was a penis. To this day, nothing I've printed has come out as clean, though I'm admittedly not great at it. Not the craziest thing, but wild to me. I was working for a kind of well-off family during a summer. I went inside to get a drink, and the mom was cleaning the kitchen, putting things away, and such. She picks up a MacBook and says to me, "Hey, do you want this? No one uses it. Got a brand new MacBook for college." My mom was a maid growing up, not for the hyper-wealthy, but for wealthy people. I got so much free shit growing up because of them, it's insane. Clothes with tags on it, boxes of vapes, I'm old, Game Boys, computers whenever they upgraded. It was actually really nice, because the people my mom worked for were very nice and generous. Sounds like my dad. He was it for a company owned by a rich guy, and the guy would have him test out gadgets before he bought one himself, so my dad has always had a new, top-of-the-line smartphone, iPad, laptop, etc. This happened to me in college. I helped some rich people move, and they were like, "Hey, I don't think we are actually going to take this love seat. Do you want it?" I brought it to my parents' house to see if they wanted it. I was in a dorm, and my mom instantly recognized it as a real Swede, handmade, roughly $4,000 love seat. She told me under no circumstances could I have it while I was in college, and that I would thank her later. A few years later, when I was moving abroad, I sold it on consignment for about $3,000. My mom was right. Your mum is the fucking goat, bro. She wanted nothing but the best for ya. My brother-in-law builds custom homes in the redneck Riviera belt of Florida. One day, he called me to come over to this $15 and beach house he was doing a complete remodel of. He was the original builder. He asked me to bring my truck and trailer. I show up and he walks me through all 4 floors. He then says, the owners have removed all the stuff they want to keep. She has told me to dispose of everything as I see fit. Get what you want. Furniture, appliances, outdoor furniture, rugs, lamps, artwork, you name it. I don't know the value of everything I took home with me that day, but it was the highest end stuff I've ever seen. 4 floors of it, and I only got 1 trailer load because I simply couldn't fit anything else in my house. I likely had over $20 worth of furniture and appliances on that trailer. Man, I would have rented a U-Haul and storage space. You possibly could have made 6 figures selling all that stuff. The owner's one stipulation was for personal use only. She didn't want to see it for sale. In her mind, she was giving to the less fortunate, even though all the stuff I got went into my $500 comb. The work crews that showed up got what was left. There was one dude who got one of the $3 outdoor furniture sets. There were 12 total, occupying the 4 floors of outdoor balconies that he put in his house as dining room stuff. Depths, UB Wayfair, Commodore Pround, 4-person, 44, long bar height, dining, set $10,000, 379, hot mole, that's what we have now from that house. Design is a little different, but made of polywood. She said they were $3 grand a set. $40 gear on sports coaching and travel, each for 2 kids. It was a better option than having them get into drugs or blow money in other destructive ways. When the oldest kid turned 22, he got mad at his mom and yelled at her, all I know about is the sport. She said, I know, but you don't have a cocaine addiction and 3 pregnant strippers like your Uncle Mark. Pumped a bunch of money into the Malibu City Council in order to change a few seats. This would allow him to have the local ordinance changed so his front doors could be taller than 20 feet. An old boss did extremely well and sold off the lion's share of his ownership, but wanted to stay involved in the company anyway, so he'd drive his absurd supercar to the office and just hang out. One day he came into the office, and it was set up in such a way that the executive offices were in a little Tox2 office glass pod in the middle, with curtains for privacy if needed, and our rows were arrayed around them. He sat in his little glass office all day and cleaned his handguns. I'll say this though, he wasn't a bad dude. We may not have seen eye to eye on politics, but if you worked for the company, he knew your name and would hang around and chat. Super generous around the holidays with time off and the big holiday party door prizes stuff of that nature. The company went way downhill when he finally let go of the reins completely. My sister is a butler for a super wealthy family. She told me a couple crazy stories. The family once got this super expensive rare breed cat, and a few months later, the wife tells my sister she can feel the cat isn't quite happy in their house, so she asks her to take their private jet to drop the cat off in their mansion on Lake Como, Italy, so it could spend a holiday in the sun. That same woman would then sometimes berate my sister for buying soap in plastic dispensers instead of just soap bars because it's bad for our planet. They bought this insanely huge, super luxurious cabin in one of the most expensive ski stations in Switzerland. They realized the cabin, more like a mansion really, right next to theirs, was for sale and then bought that one as well, just so they wouldn't have close neighbors. I thought our cats were spoiled, but now that they've heard the private jet and mansion on Lake Como story, I'm on probation. Clearly, I've been slacking off on providing accommodations befitting their status. Years ago, I used to work carpentry, mainly doing sunrooms. One of our clients was a brain surgeon who was married to a lawyer, and they subsequently had a massive house on a large property. Their son was also some type of neuroscientist, and with his parents' permission, had yet another massive house built on this same property. Problem is, city ordinances prohibit 2 separate livable dwellings on the same property. Mind you, these houses were about a quarter-mile away from each other, so to comply with the ordinances, they build a fucking wall between the houses. And this isn't just some dinky picket fence type of wall. It's a massive medieval style wall that has round towers with merlons and crenels, a gym midway through, and a massive $750 stone wall. Glass sunroom, all the while being wide enough to have room for a walking path and a road, and a road for golf cart. Inside the wall, the city ordinance said only one livable dwelling can be on their property, so they just made a massive hallway between their houses. Edit. I was able to find the video I took from years ago on my computer when we were on the job site scouting it out. My memory wasn't exactly correct, but this gives you a good look at what it looked like. The steel structure you see near the end is where the sunroom was going to go. All we were providing was the glass. Tips, YouTube, komwatch, frivexix jai taktuje. This is the very definition of fuck you money. City ordinances prohibit two separate livable dwellings on the same property. What a weird ordinance. In Asia, some families have separate homes in a compound, generations living in the same plot of land, and no one gives a shit. I did a male nanny, job for a rich couple who wanted someone to care for their kids. The wife didn't want a female nanny and I was in college, so it helped pay the bills. One day they asked, "Do you want to go to Hawaii?" Turns out the company that the husband was the coup of was doing an executive retreat in Hawaii. Instead of finding daycare in Hawaii for their kids, they thought it'd be easier to just pay for me to fly to Hawaii, care for the kids during the day, and then have my evenings or their family time free. So I went to Hawaii on their dime, had my own hotel room. They paid me for my time and gave me a large stipend for my own food entertainment. I ended up with pretty much every evening off, so I got to spend it. During the day, I brought their kids to the beach. We went hiking and did some touristy running around. On top of that, they gave me $5 in spending money in case any of the kids wanted anything. I had to show receipts, but when I tried to turn in the receipts, the wife just said, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's only a couple grand," and never verified how I'd spent some of that money. I couldn't tell if she just trusted me implicitly by that point, or if she truly thought the amount was so small it didn't matter. They were a really nice family, just very well off, which made just spending money on any problems the easiest answer. I actually got invited to the oldest daughter's high school graduation because she considered me a friend. That's sweet. And did you go? I definitely did. Flew back for it and everything. She's an amazing kid and I'm very proud of her. I think she's going to ace her classes at Tufts. This is some good parenting too. I don't know what the rest of their lives were like, but if you need someone to help care for your kids, it's pretty important for their development if they get to stick with the same people. Absolutely. They obviously put some thought into their decisions. Also this line, I ended up with pretty much every evening of parents came back to their kids every evening. In Hawaii, that's the good shit. The first half sounds like the plot for an upcoming season of The White Lotus. I set up a party for a family out in the Hamptons that bought the house next door just to level it and set up a giant temporary party tent on the plot. Wild shit. Bodyguarded someone filthy rich with next to no class whatsoever. He bought a very sought-after rare classic car from a renowned Italian car maker, had the roof taken off, painted it a ridiculous pink sparkle color, and put it on the roof of one of his most central buildings in the middle of a large European city. The Italian car maker offered to buy the car presumably because they were absolutely disgusted with what he'd done to the car and didn't want the abomination to get further exposure as they felt it damaged their brand tremendously. He sold it to them, was then banned from ever purchasing factory new models from that brand ever again globally. Let me guess, it was a Ferrari. I moved the guy that created eBay. He had Aretha Franklin's grand piano, played it, and Elvis Presley's coat, didn't wear it. I always wanted to know what kind of weird shit you'd be able to get on eBay if you owned it. Now I know. Bartending at a fancy party in a very wealthy older couple's house, where these people had art on display they had bought from museums. I was working in a room where 3 walls were glass and you could see this beautiful manicured garden with sculpture. When the sun started to set, these big, floppy-eared white bunnies started to appear and frolic around the yard. I asked someone who worked in the house about the rabbits. The rich people bought them as a garden feature. Every once in a while, they had to cull the rabbit population. The rabbits were decorations, This was also the night when I was making an older man a drink, and he decided to ask me so, "What are the poor people doing tonight?" This was also the night when I was making an older man a drink, and he decided to ask me so, "What are the poor people doing tonight?" Apparently this is something my grandpa would say whenever the family had a nice meal. He wasn't even rich though, so it was always tongue-in-cheek. Wonder what the poor folk are eating tonight. Edit. Was surprised to see this is so common. Apparently this was popularized by Fat Swallow. My dad says something similar when we cook a really good meal, but I like his phrasing more. I don't know what the rich folks are eating tonight, but it can't be better than this. The owner of my company had a customer pay off a giant debt by signing over a yacht to him. When he went to the marina to get the storage info transferred to his name and saw how much it cost to store the yacht there, he bought the marina. Galaxy brain right there. Also, he had the spare cash to buy a marina, I guess. Well, don't we all? I think I looked at that marina, but seemed like a lot of maintenance, so I bought groceries instead. The guy is a business genius. I don't think he even knows how much the company's worth. Started it as just him and his brother in the late 60s. Now it's like the third biggest in our field in the US. And he's the sole proprietor still. He also has businesses that services competitors, and he has just let other companies run up debts, big enough that they end up signing the company over to him to cover their debt. It seems like every 4 or 5 months we hear, "We just acquired insert company name here." And on his maiden voyage, he decided to buy the ocean. Their kids, all young 20s, never shut the door when using the bathroom. Plenty times while cleaning the house I'd walk past the bathroom and see one of their daughters on the can. They'd often wave or say, "Fucking odd." Hummer. My dad does this. Maybe there's an inheritance I'm not expecting. My bro worked on a super yacht, quit the day he saw a 14-year-old take a massive shit on the deck and tell him to clean it up. Same reason I walked. I was supposed to be machine maintenance. The owner has a private bathroom in his office. I was tasked with unclogging a turd that was about the same size as a Yeti 46 Oz water bottle. I told them in my interview that I don't have the stomach to clean toilets. I mean, can you at least tell me it was on the poop deck? Had a client who purchased a newly built penthouse apartment and wanted a jacuzzi on the balcony. It would have meant a structural column was needed in the middle of the balcony, below which the contractor who built the apartment block wouldn't go for, as it would impact selling that apartment. Client buys the apartment below, approves the column, jacuzzi is installed, then privately sells the apartment below. Voila, problem solved. A few years ago, a rich French guy opened a school. French people here might be able to connect the dot. A bit before the grand opening, the staff was having a small party on the roof and rich guy came in. He asked them if they had everything they need. Someone said jokingly that it was missing a jacuzzi. A few days later, a jacuzzi was delivered on the roof. Rich guy hears that his staff wants a jacuzzi. Rich gets his staff a jacuzzi. I like that. What's the point in having fuck you money if you never say fuck you, billion? Wealthy problems require wealthy solution. You gotta spend money to spend money. I do high-end florals in very rich area. See tons of obscene shows of wealth all the time. The amount of money some of these people spend on flowers alone is unfathomable. The one that I always come back to is a client who we were decorating their house for Christmas, and as I was hanging garland around their 6-car garage, a separate garage than the one connected to the house, I look in to see each of the 6 spots has a car elevator and is 3 cars deep. So there were 18 of the same exact $350 car.
Why would anyone need 18 of the same exact car, let alone one that expensive?
In case one of them runs out of gas, you got another ready. I interned a long time ago where we had to clear every single check or credit card charge with a guy's parent because he got conned into joining a cult and the leader kept getting him to piss away his trust fund. Once there were enough checks and balances in place, he got kicked out of the cult for not paying up anymore. I felt bad for the guy. He was actually pretty nice, but his parents just pawned him off on the help while they traveled, and he was an easy mark because the cult made him feel that. I did a catering job years ago for John Paul DeJoria, Patron Tequila, and Paul Mitchell, and his house was awesome. Riverside, Texas Hill Country. Beautiful place. We were packing up at the end of the night and the security guard came by and said, "Stay away from the windows, we are locking up." We said, and about 5 minutes later, these metal drop-down armor plates came out of the roof, it seemed, and covered each window and door. Thick metal plating armor. My sister worked on a private yacht of one of the old money US families. She said the parents all seemed okay. The kids that were fucked up, shitting the bed every night, drugs constantly, poor social skills. Did appliance repair. One lady had a Tankswell walk-in wine cooler, floor to ceiling stocked with wine, in her living room. Another person's house was made of imported stone and had a library the size of a 2-car garage. My favorite was an old lady who just had nice stuff. She took care of what she had. Every time I went, she gave me $40 for a nice beer with your lady. I would always refuse, but she insisted and was basically the typical granny everyone would want. Had a library the size of a 2-car garage. I liked that. Never work for millionaires. They're just trying to prove something. Work for billionaires. They know what they want and will just pay what it costs to get it right. A caretaker getting paid 6 American figures for keeping up a multi-million-dollar house that gets used 2 weeks a year. Millionaires show that money is no object. Billionaires, money literally is no object. Obviously, everyone is different. I remember reading an anecdote on a similar thread where a waiter, I think, said at the club he worked for, groups of millionaires would shell out for a ridiculous drink tab, ordering the most expensive wines and cocktails. Billionaire would show up and get a Coke. When there is no actual difference between $3 and $3,000 to you, you get what you want. I'm a delivery driver. In a similar vein, when I deliver to new money neighborhoods where the homes are $500 on a mill, there are luxury brand cars in every driveway. When I'm in neighborhoods where the homes are $20 million, it's usually a lot of current year models of average brand. 2023 Hondas, Toyotas, etc. I was surprised to see that the richer people become the more understated they prefer to be. Edit. I understand most houses in the US are now in the $500 range. Before COVID, though, they were cheaper, at least in my city. I get that things are different now, though. Thank you. Most super wealthy people don't want everybody to know they're super wealthy because they don't want to be constantly asked for money and value their privacy. It's hard for moderately wealthy people to understand this until they no longer have to try to get that kind of attention by showing off. Also, people in the low tiers of wealthy often aren't even wealthy at all. They often have just good incomes and a lot of debt financed by that income. You can have a net worth of $0 and live in an $800 house if you have a good job. You don't get into a $20 house without actually having a ton of wealth or obscenely high-paying job like being a pro athlete, entertainer, major executive, etc. I've heard there's a behavioral gap between the super wealthy and the absurdly, ridiculously wealthy, where the latter become almost normal people. The former will be constantly trying to look rich, obsessed with appearances and status, etc. The latter will invite you over to watch Netflix, wearing yesterday's shorts and ordering Papa John's for dinner. It's like when they've been so rich for so long, some people just stop caring about it. I work in the auto industry and was visiting a luxury brand recently. Talked to the GM about the brand wanting certain things a certain way for their customers. He told me he read that a large number of wealthy people don't buy luxury cars. The rich buy nice cars, the wealthy buy dependable cars and yachts or planes. And I remembered back in my OM days when the demographics of a car and its competition showed that Lexus 350 customers used 60% of their income on car payment. I work in maritime, and I work with a European company that builds large yachts. Not mega yachts, but a step below. We had a dinner meeting with the owner, and he was telling us it's so hard to pick out which American is actually seriously buying. He said wealthy Europeans he can usually spot by their mannerisms and dress. Americans are just all over the place. People can look rich, and then he gets to the numbers and they bail. He said the last American to get a custom yacht came to initial meeting in cargo shorts, a tank top and flip-flops. It's a thing where I live where you're not quite sure who is homeless and who is a billionaire. Either they get in their Lambo and drive off, or take a shit on the street corner and pass out in a fentanyl-induced coma, and then wake up and get in their Lambo and drive off. One of the financial advisors at my former firm had a 4.5 billion net worth client, think fast, Chinese food with black and white bears. He came to the office to review what car to buy for himself. They went over Bentleys and all sorts of ultra luxury. Dude bought a Hyundai. I worked on a billionaire's home, installing his custom pool. He ordered a custom iridescent tile. For the whole pool, it cost $440 for material alone, and another $400 to install it. We informed him that it was a special order and couldn't be changed once ordered. He approved. We installed it. Walks out. It looks amazing. All the people working on it thought so. Says he doesn't like it, tear it out and replace it. All told, he blew like $2.4 million on his pool tile before he got done. Fucker didn't bat an eye, edit. Pool pictures of the pool, since everyone was asking edit too. Also worked on a house in that same area that had a $250 fish tank. Can't share pictures of that cause. It was in someone's house, but still. Edit 3. For scale. The boat in the pictures behind the pool is 90 feet long. I'm friends with a very wealthy person through his son since we went to the same university. I was worried this was going to be a photo of his pool, because his son was literally complaining about his dad doing something like that a year ago or so. My dad spent like $500,000 fucking reflooring the pool twice because he didn't like it the first time. But when I suggest putting in lights and a sound system for the backyard, he thinks I'm wasting money when we have an iPhone speaker. Well, son, it's my money and I can do what I want with it. You heard of fuck you money. Yes, fuck me money. That's even more powerful. I briefly cleaned houses one summer, and these houses were insane. Some had elevators. Some had stalls in their master bathroom. Edit. Corrected from bedroom. One had a literal cave manufactured in the bathroom, with shower heads all throughout it. You could walk from one end and come out the other side of the bathroom, split by a massive hot tub. What struck me as odd in almost every house was the sense of disuse. They had grand pianos covered in dust, expensive lamps and throw pillows with a tag still on them, sprawling playrooms with every toy any child could want, totally devoid of playing children. The weirdest house I cleaned, though, wasn't huge and it wasn't gorgeous. It was pretty normal on the outside, but inside, the entire house was filled with piles of clothes. Everywhere. I pulled aside my fellow cleaner and asked, with all sincerity, how to clean this house. She told me to go around the piles as best you can. They had a mountain of clothes in the living room like something out of a cartoon. Every couch had stacks of brand new clothes with tags on them. They were the only folded clothes anywhere. In the bedroom, it was the same. Smaller piles in every corner, couldn't fully open or close doors around them. The kids' bathroom didn't even have a shower curtain. Best guess, after cleaning that house as best we could, is that they don't wash clothes. I think they just buy more and discard the dirty clothes into the piles. I think about that house a lot and wonder if they ever got their shit together. Edit to add, it was like metal bathroom stall cubicles, and the elevators and stalls did not seem related to accessibility. My apologies for any misunderstanding. Sounds like compulsive hoarding. My neighbor is a compulsive hoarder. Came from a rough childhood, ugly divorce. Dad drank, mom had mental illness. On trash night, she takes her truck out and picks up all kinds of stuff they don't need. I think she's added free Facebook Marketplace crap to her hoard. I counted 65 chairs and like 20 bicycles. Unloads her truck in the back and leaves all of the crap out there, never using it, and it all gets ruined by the weather. Inside their house is the same way, just stacks of paper and junk. She still won't part with it. I'm about to call the city. She's nice, but it's a lot to look at, and we're worried about rats. Her husband and kids hate it, but she loses her shit when they try to talk to her about it. It is an illness, but she has no interest in treatment, so the city is going to have to force the first step. Calling the city would do her kids a favor. Growing up in a hoarder house is extremely damaging. Could you explain the stalls in the master bedroom? Like a bathroom stall, a horse stall. I am so curious. Yes, bathroom stalls. It was the craziest residential bathroom I have ever seen. 2 stalls on one side, massive dual marble vanity, huge hot tub, then the shower cave. I have no idea how many people they expect to be in that bathroom at one time. This house also had a wall of framed photos, many of which still had the stock photo with a logo or watermark inside. Rich people are weird. I've done sided work for various CEOs dozens of times over the years, and there's always common threads. It's always been male CEOs, and they genuinely seem relieved to have someone in their house that isn't trying to negotiate or weasel something from them. They'll sit and talk with me, ask my career plans, how I got into the field, that kind of thing. The wives of said chaos are all eerily similar. Lots of makeup, very strong opinions, very cold, and very standoffish. The garage always has at least one classic car, one sports car, and one car lift. There is always a golf cart on the property. The kids' rooms are always a mess. One guy was in an 18-room mansion and his teen son had a mattress on the floor with clothes piled up everywhere. I had to hook up some wiring in there, and it smelled like his foot was in my face. If there's a dog or cat in the house, it's the most well-groomed animal you've ever seen. They always have a van service to come out once a week or so for grooming. Any mess will be blamed on the cleaning lady. She either hasn't come or missed something, even though I didn't notice a mess in the first place. They tend to have the best of everything from stores vendors you don't normally see. One CEO had a custom German sound system installed in his game room, which featured a bar, a snack bar, theater seating, cafe tables, and 2 fridges. The interface on his entertainment system was also custom made, and all the TVs in the house used the same interface. I've seen a glimpse of very sexy lingerie, leather straps, and chains hanging in closets. Freaky stuff happens. I'll always get an invite to go on a boat ride, plan a ride, golf trip. These invites aren't real. I think they do it to remind you they have toys. That's all I can think of for now. Armor might jog my memory. I ask myself what would happen if one would accept that invite. Sometimes the invites are real. I used to work at a Relays Chateau property and served a bunch of rich people. One lovely couple I served and got to know asked what I was doing on my days off. I replied, just saying I was going to the mainland to visit. They happened to be leaving the same day, offered me and my co-worker a helicopter ride back and dinner on them. So we all flew out and they took us out to one of the nicest restaurants in Vancouver and paid for it all. This was after spending like 15 nights at the resort. Such a lovely time. I still keep in contact every now and then. It's it. If he's invited on the yacht, it's to fix the satellite Wi-Fi. Welcome to the Hamptons. The router is under the stairs. Lol, there's truth in that. I've never been anywhere for pleasure without a hey, while you're here request. It's gotten to the point I tell people I'm a garbage man at parties. Radiant heated driveways to melt snow. A turntable to rotate their cars so they didn't have to back out of their driveway. Lifts in the garage so they can park cars underneath each other. The heated driveways, not the most expensive thing in the world. It's not cheap, but definitely within the realm of possibility for even someone upper middle class. Although in today's day and age, that might as well mean rich up. They're getting more common around Canada because shoveling snow fucking sucks. Have a buddy that owns a window cleaning business. Came out to an estate to bid on the job inside and out for the entire property. Owner decided to just do half. It was over $13 in 2 days for a large crew to complete. When my friend cashed the check, he noticed the memo, Windows, Housey 5. Now I'm gonna have to start filling out my checks that way. Hands check at the car wash, 2008 Corolla, a 12.